call our meeting to order tonight. Renata, if you would do the roll call, please.
Here.
McEvers.
Here.
Gookin.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
English.
Here.
Evans.
Here.
If we would all rise for our invocation, it is our honor to have Pastor Ron Hunter with us tonight.
Holy Father, I come before you this evening to thank you for the beauty of the place that we enjoy living in and for people like these council members and city employees who serve. I ask today that you will grant to this council the ability to hear the diverse opinions that will come, the depth of understanding that they will need to see the issues completely, and give them wisdom, O God, in their decision-making. I ask that by your grace you will bless the residents of this community so that we may be a beacon of beauty and harmony, and that we will enjoy this place in peace and safety. And I ask it in Jesus' wonderful name. Amen.
Amen. Would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't believe we have any amendments to the agenda today, so we will move on to the consent calendar.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented, including Resolution 18-010 and Resolution 18-011 and Resolution 18-012.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Ettinger.
Yeah.
Evans.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
McEvers.
Yes.
Gookin.
Yep.
English.
Yes.
Motion carried. Now is the time for public comments. Anyone wishing to come forward shall have 3 minutes to discuss any city business that they would like to discuss with us. We would even accept firemen if they wanted to come up. We would allow that to happen.
Honorable Mayor and Council, John Morrison, Battalion Chief, Coeur d'Alene Fire Department, and it is my pleasure to introduce you to Coeur d'Alene's newest firefighter, Matthew Glenn. He comes to us by way of Spokane from Ellensburg originally, and he's been here about 2 months, learning the job, and again, just wanted to introduce him.
What station are you at?
Right now I'm at Station 2.
Okay.
Are they being nice to you?
Yeah.
We're trying.
They making you cook all the time?
Oh, yeah. Getting good.
Yeah. Well, welcome. It's
Welcome.
great to have you as part of our team. Thanks
you.
for coming tonight.
Good to see you.
Anyone else wishing to give public comments tonight? We will move on to announcements. Any member of the council have an announcement tonight? No announcements. I will move on to appointments. I have 2 appointments. I would like to appoint Bruce Martnick to the Urban Forestry Committee and Jeff Lemon and John Ingalls to the Design Review Commission.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Now we will move on to other business. Resolution number 18-013, award of bid and approval of a contract for the Memorial Park Restroom Project with William Welch Corporation. Bill Greenwood. Welcome, Bill.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have a topic here that is near and dear to Councilman Gookin's heart. He really likes restrooms in parks, and we're going to hopefully provide that for him this evening.
Thank you for giving me the anatomy opener. I'm not going to do anything with that. It's close to my heart.
So, as you recall, we went to bid, and this item at the restroom facility, when we went to bid for the project, was over budget. So we rejected it, we retooled it, and as I told you at the time, if we couldn't come in on budget, we were going to use a CXT off-the-shelf type that would still be a flushable unit. And they turned out, they asked me if they could go back to the drawing board and come up with a better design and thought to cut some costs. They did that, we came in on budget, and we're asking for your approval for that.
Questions for Bill?
It's, Mr. Mayor, It's going to be brick, right?
This is brick and mortar.
Brick and
with-
mortar.
With water.
With water.
No duvet, but still flushable.
Heated, right?
This one is not heated.
Oh, okay. That makes it more fun in the winter,
Yes,
but it's closed in the winter.
correct.
Okay.
Gets
Have
faster.
your other favorite unit out there to help people along in the winter.
That's the mayor's favorite unit. Don't mind.
So it's a brick house.
It is a brick house, thank you.
Move for the adoption of Resolution 18-013.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please, Renata.
Evans?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
McEvers?
Yes.
Gookin?
Oh, yeah.
English?
Yes.
Eddinger?
Yep.
Motion carried. Thank you, Bill. We will
Thank you.
move on now to Atlas Waterfront Project Opportunity, and we have Troy that's going to give us the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You are moving at a rapid pace this evening. Well done.
It's cold.
I bring before you an unbudgeted, unplanned opportunity that is presenting itself. So parameters would be why now? Because in a year, this property won't be there, that being structural soil material. And a look at a couple of improvements that we propose to partner with Ignite CDA that could do the contracting for some work along the shoreline and with the consultants. So this proposal ties into a project that's happening with the Idaho Transportation Department on our freeway. They're going to lower the freeway in order to increase the height under the bridges. Those bridges currently don't meet the height maximums, and thus Sherman Avenue is a bypass. This will eliminate Sherman from being a bypass as they go forward. So this project is scheduled, and with our partners in this proposal, we are able to contract with the contractor that has secured the structural fill material. It's approximately 100,000 cubic yards of structural fill material. It will start to be excavated in April. The lanes of traffic will be moved over to one side. They'll go and lower it, they'll come in, do what they need to do, rebuild that road, and then open it up, and then they'll move to the other side, move traffic over, structurally remove all that fill, and then redo that portion of the freeway. So we've been working on this for a number of weeks, and the effort brings forth your approval in looking at, do you want to take advantage of this? Right now, we are proposing a cost that would move approximately 100,000 cubic yards. It would be acquired, placed, and compacted. We have a site at the Atlas Waterfront Project that has already been looked at. The soils that need to be stripped off will be stripped off so that a pad will be created. There's probably about 15 or 20,000 cubic yards that will be piled up as we need those in other locations. So they won't be set in there, the full 100,000 cubic yards. As you look at costs to do that, if it wasn't this material, if it wasn't a short haul, we are looking at a savings of approximately $1 million depending on how you price it out. So your finance director and administrator, which is all in the same person, really likes these two features to this particular deal. Why now? If we don't secure it now, it will not come into our hands again. The proposal from the contractor would be that this would go to a pit in Coeur d'Alene, and we wouldn't have the opportunity to get those good values at this point. So we also have been working with our engineers to look at what we'd like to get done on the Atlas Waterfront project, and the other one would be some shoreline stabilization permitting. That takes a minimum of a year. The best time to work on a shoreline is when the water is very low. Today would be a perfect day, but it's a little cold out there. But if we're a year out, we would need the permits in place in order to do some of that work. So this would be preparatory opportunity to get going on it. And then we have an opportunity that our Idaho Department of Environmental Quality is going to be on this site doing borings as they look at some brownfield opportunity that we'd have out there. Welch Comer, the engineer that is contracted with Ignite would like to do more borings, including into the soils that we refer to as Mount Hink, where some of those log waste materials are. And we'd like to do more borings down along the river and along the railroad right-of-way. So we basically have the equipment on site. They have all the personnel on site. We'd like to bolt on to what they're proposing, get more sampling, which really helps us do our due diligence and understand the soils and any contamination that may show up in that process. So we put this together in this great month so that you understand this opportunity. So again, about $1.6 million, depending on a few of the variables in the cubic yards that we would move. Cost to the city be $495,000. We are looking to contract that tightly. And I know I have a council member that's worked on this that knows about this business, so thank you for that. So $1 million savings catches my interest. Soil import would start early, be April of this year. And then Ignite Coeur d'Alene has already started some of the environmental work, and we could add on to that contract. This is the location in blue of where we're proposing that the structural fill material would go. The topsoils would be taken off. This would be leveled out with that 100,000 cubic yards. Just to give you an idea on site where our geotechnical work has been done, makes sense based on the proximity as well as the best areas in which we know we can get to a good layer and then build it back up. This is looking northwest for the proposed location, an aerial view of it, and that would be a fun diagram as we overlaid what 125,000 cubic yards would start to look like in shoring up that site for development in the near future. The other part to this was we went forward and worked with the consultants that are working with Ignite that you will be meeting in the very near future and asked them what this type of improvement would do to the value. And the consultants come back and tell you that there's at least a 1.5 times return on what we're doing as we prep this site. So the big variables would be, it can happen now, it can happen at a reasonable cost, and we have validation from a third party that there is value that exponentially increases the probability that the site can be built on sooner. And for a developer, soon always helps the cash flow situation. Again, the shoreline stabilization, you can understand how many months it takes to get that done. That is paperwork, that's pushing and looking to have it viable when the water is correct. We're always looking for grant funding. We're always partnering in any way that we can come up with. And the estimated cost for the conceptuals and the permitting comes in at $35,000. So like all good business people that you're at, we're looking to improve this site as opportunities present themselves, looking for different sources of money to fund it and to partner on contracts that already exist. So we've bundled these together. Here's some of the shoreline to add value to what needs to be done, how it can be approved. The erosion is working pretty hard in certain points on that river, and we would like to shore that up. The consultants that are coming in are going to bring great photos of work that's been done. Some of this can be naturally done, some of it could be riprap, some of it even could be ingress and egress down to the water with the right retaining walls and things like that. And I thought those pictures sort of captured some of the native side that could exist. The lower photo on the left has walkability, and there is some slope to that particular area. So I was borrowing some from the consultants here. Don't think that I was doing any of this. This is all borrowed material. And again, the riprap and that type of thing will work, can work, but we'd like to make that one of the best shorelines in the Pacific Northwest. So again, the partnering really is important to take advantage of with DEQ, and they have been very good partners in this. So we can partner and piggyback off of what they're doing on site. Estimated costs about $35,000. we propose that you would save $50,000 from bringing them in to go and do this work in addition to what DEQ is going to do when they're there. You can tell that this was done in collaboration with an engineer because we have all the sites that we'd like to drill in and the sites that would be done by DEQ. So this is very intentional as we look at the permitting combined with those areas that we want to make sure what it is below surface. So we are seeking money that is not in your financial plan and an expense that was not anticipated. So I'm going to work on where the money would come from in just a second. So $420,000 to go in and get the structural fill material and $155,000 partnering with Ignite to add on to contracts that they currently have. One of your many great questions would include, why doesn't Ignite do this right now? It's not in their district and we haven't annexed it into the city, so we have a couple of those challenges. They can do work, however, bringing in soil that's not in collaboration with the city, they believe is problematic. They are comfortable with going forward with adding on to their existing contracts. The City of Coeur d'Alene would be the funding partner. As we look at this project, we have not brought to you a financial plan that would say how everything gets repaid. The goal will come from our public input. It will come from the consultants that look at the different options. It will be a look at how much land can be developed, how much of it can be commercial, how much infrastructure is pulled in, a myriad of those variables. We will bring you that and a recommendation, but we have a couple other pieces to get done, including public input, including your input, including Ignite's input. So in looking at this, I would propose to you, number one, that your fund balance continues to be positive. It's always an interesting question on what our fund balance is. Today, the city's fund balance is really healthy because we just recently got the check from Kootenai County. However, we do not have all of that money expendable because we've programmed that in. But if you said, what's this fund balance today, I would say it's over $12 million. However, we're going to use some of that throughout the rest of this year. I would suggest to you, based on a couple of looks into the future, that your fund balance, even with the work that's being done on your city hall, is still in the 18% neighborhood of your total expenses. So a little over $8 million. Again, that is looking at everything we have going on. The cash flow from development has been solid this year. Property tax payments actually were up due to a little change in legislation, so a few people paid earlier, but we would have gotten that at one point in the year anyway. We don't see any negatives happening in the economy right now, so I would be bullish on where we at this point in cash flow. The source of funding, driving it down one more degree, would be some unanticipated income that you approved at the first meeting in January of 2018 as we partner with the state of Idaho, where council approved through the Department of Transportation to take over East Coeur d'Alene Lake Drive, and that was an $840,000 unanticipated income. Now the beauty of that is I don't quite have that income from them, but we will get it. I also had a motion at that to allocate those dollars to be designated in your fund balance for future opportunities. So in talking with a number of you council members and with the mayor, recommendation that I would make based on some input would be we allocate the $840,000 in your fund balance and we do a due to, should you approve this, for the dollar amount that is in this staff report. So that would be a due to, as the project at the Atlas waterfront comes forward, to make that flush as lots are sold or property is sold and the financial model comes back to you. I would stand for any questions you might have.
Thank you, Troy. Questions for Troy? Woody?
Just a couple on the boring of the holes doesn't appear to be where we're going to move the dirt. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so boring the holes is one whole project to find out what's there. Moving the dirt is to get that productive area solid and good footing and calm.
And calm.
Level.
I like that.
Calm. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Yep.
Troy, were you involved with the Croc Center in moving that soil to that project?
Yes, sir.
So as a percentage, how many feet did you move in to fill that spot? Do you remember off the top?
Hundreds of thousands of cubic yards based on export and then the imports. So it's like 700,000 cubic yards at the end of the day, or some such number.
And so how is this price compared to that? Is it a similar price? I believe the figure was $3 million to move in that. Are we right?
That was done with scrapers, which is an amazing way to move, and they never had to get on a road. So, and that was quite a few years ago now as well. So yes, I would think that opportunity, that one is as good as this one when we look at the cost to move structural fill material, trucking cost, placing cost, and erosion control and all the things that go with that.
Other questions for Troy?
Just one, and I appreciate all the time. I did get a lot of questions answered by the engineer today and your follow-up, and I really appreciated that. I was originally looking at this dirt at the numbers per yard, and it seemed really high. So I went back through that, and I think an important thing to note is this is a lot more site prep than just moving the dirt, and the opportunity to do it now is here, where it may not be. And I still had a little bit of question about, do we really have to do it now? Is there going to be other opportunities as the season starts up that we could access this and get it done and maybe not even do it all at one time? But I have to trust that the value of the increase of the property being prepped for whatever we want to do is there. And the only other question I had that I really am wrestling with is the stabilization piece. I'm okay with the dirt piece, that's where I'm going. I like that part, and in fact, the investment in it is wise. But the stabilization piece, how is that going to be, how do they believe that's going to be affected by what the community wants as far as that shoreline is? It feels like some of the stabilization processes are going to affect the ability to do what the community might want to do there because it's already done.
There won't be any work done for at least a year. So I would suggest that the community can have those inputs, look at the pictures that we're talking about, and the permitting process and getting through all the regulatory agencies will be a lot of paperwork. And then, of course, your window to do any work is very small. So our goal here would be to spend the dollars, have enough lead time, so that if we got the ideal spring and everything worked out perfectly, we would be in that bank next spring. This is what this affords you.
So the detail in the stabilization itself isn't part of the grant request, just the request to stabilize has to move forward.
To stabilize.
Okay.
And there's multiple ways in which that stabilization can occur. And so with the public input happening in March, you're going to look at this at the end of April, we'll be in really great shape to submit additional information as that application is moving through, because it moves slowly. Good question.
Other questions for Troy? If we don't have other questions, we'll be looking for council action.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the $575,000 in funding for structural soil import, shoreline stabilization permitting and grant applications, and soil exploration partnership with IDEQ Brownfields and partner with Ignite CDA to contract with Northwest Grading to purchase the I-90 fill material for $420,000 and provide funding to Ignite CDA in the amount of $155,000 to complete the engineering-related work with their engineer, Welsh Comer Engineers.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
It sounds like a deal, Mr. Mayor. I think Troy found some money, but we're going to be tracking that in the budget, so we know where that goes when it comes time to do things for Coeur d'Alene Lake Drive. But again, it seems like, to to address what Kiki was concerned with. It seems like it's going to be cheaper to do it now than to do it in the future, and it also enhances the value of the property. So hopefully that we're taking care of things. I know there's so many moving pieces with this Atlas Mill site thing. To have something like this sprung on us is kind of surprising, but it seems like a deal. So I appreciate that you and staff did all the work and found this, and we can move forward with it.
Any other discussion?
Just, it sounds like a great recycling process, so.
Okay, no other discussion. Roll call, please, Renata.
Miller,
Yes.
McEvers,
Yes.
Gookin.
Yep.
English.
Yes.
Eddinger.
Yep.
Evans.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you, Troy. You did a lot of work on that. Appreciate it.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. We are adjourned.
Wow.